Following video is not made for kids. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello to my subscribers, this is the TFangy coming to you with a special review, and today we're going to be taking a look at one of the, I was about to say, one of the more amazing figures of the Transformers Kingdom line, but I wouldn't quite use the word amazing. I'd call it one of the more sought-after figures of the Transformers Kingdom line. It's not necessarily one of the figures everyone's been striving to collect, but from what I've seen, most Transformers fans and collectors have enjoyed this figure. Now, the reason why I'm saying this figure isn't one of the more sought after figures is because when the figure was first announced, some people were a little hesitant about seeing the action figure of this Transformers character in the size class that it was made in. So without further delay, hey, here he is, everyone. Transformers Kingdom Commander Class Rodimus Prime. So yes, the Commander Class line was introduced during the War for Cybertron Trilogy. Siege, Jetfire, and Earthrise Skylinks were considered by many people to be some of the top best figures of both of the first two chapters of the War for Cybertron Trilogy. And a lot of Transformers collectors were wondering who the next potential Commander Class sized action figure could be, and nobody was expecting that it was going to be Rodimus Prime. Now, what I'm trying to allude to is the fact that since Rodimus Prime has been given a Commander class-sized action figure, historically action figures of Rodimus Prime have been slightly smaller than action figures of Optimus Prime. So, with Rodimus Prime having been given a Commander class-sized figure, Hasbro and Takara have opened the floodgates for other Transformers characters that turn into large wheeled vehicles to be released in the Commander class size as well. Optimus Prime, Ultra Magnus, trying to think who else they could do. That you could get Nemesis Prime and Delta Magnus repainted from them. Thunder Clash. I'm trying to think of who else could be released in this size class. Any of the Combiner bots, because it's been announced that next year in the Legacy line, Motormaster, the leader of the Stunticons, is going to be the first ever Decepticon Commander class sized figure. So yes, with Rodimus Prime, there's potential for all of the Transformers characters who turn into large wheeled vehicles to be given it released as Commander class sized figures. So I'm personally waiting for Hasbro and Takara to announce before next year 2022 comes to an end that Optimus Prime is going to be given a Commander class sized action figure as well. So here's Rodimus Prime, the front of his box. Like the other Commander class sized figures, there's no plastic window at all. Also, unfortunately, you won't know what Rodimus Prime is like until you actually open him up and take him out of the box. So it is some nice artwork of Rodimus Prime regardless. Here he is in his robot mode. Here he is in his vehicle mode. Rodimus Prime's vehicle mode has been given many names over the years, just like all the other Transformers characters who were introduced during 1986, the third season of the Transformers Generation 1 series. Rodimus Prime's vehicle is a science fictional vehicle, and over the years, the accepted name for Rodimus Prime's vehicle mode has been a Space Winnebago. In the minds of many Transformers collectors, Rodimus Prime's vehicle mode looks like a Winnebago RV motorhome, but it's a science fiction. But it's a more one that you would see on planet Cybertron, not one on planet Earth, which is why it's known as a Space Winnebago. So, even if it is officially recognized as a Winnebago, that technically means Rodimus Prime is unique amongst Transformers characters, because I don't know of any other Transformers characters that turn into a Winnebago, whether it be a space or Earth style Winnebago. They go anywhere, so that does make Rodimus Prime special in that regard. Here on the top of his box, Rodimus Prime is an Autobot. He is the 29th Transformers action figure overall to be released in the Kingdom line. And here on this side of the box, the poster image for the Kingdom line. And here on the back, you've got Rodimus Prime transforms the product photos of him. You've got his robot mode and his vehicle mode. Rodimus Prime transforms from his robot mode to his vehicle mode in just 34 steps, and he transforms his trailer, the back half of the Winnebago, from vehicle mode to battle platform mode in just 8 steps. So that's pretty impressive looking there. And of course, you get images of all the, not all of them, most of the accessory pieces that Rodimus Prime comes with. He comes with his laser gun, he comes with a sword, he comes with the Matrix of Leadership, he comes with several blast effects. These two triangle-shaped ones here, they're actually black on the final product. They aren't blue like all the other blast effects, and that blast effect there, you're actually supposed to put it on in front of the Matrix of Leadership, and just like Studio Series Hot Rod, you're supposed to mimic the moment when Rodimus Prime lights the darkest hour of the Transformers and becomes the next commander of all the Autobots after Optimus Prime has died. So, yeah, that's pretty much all there is to say about Rodimus Prime. So without further delay, let's get him out of his box and take a close look at him in his vehicle mode. Alright, so here is Rodimus Prime in his vehicle mode, and yes, I already took him up and opened him out of the box. And the main reason why I did is because something irked me about Rodimus Prime. Here on the back of his box, as you can see in his official product shots, Rodimus Prime's wheels are unpainted black plastic. Yet, it's very hard to see, but if you look here on Rodimus Prime's box, on the artwork, his wheels have the hubcaps painted silver, so he has actual hubcaps and tires on his wheels. So, I took Rodimus Prime out of his box already before I actually started the review because I wanted to see what he would look like with his wheels painted silver. And so I did just that. I painted Rodimus Prime's wheels. So yes, here is Kingdom Rodimus Prime out of the box, transformed into his vehicle mode. Now the reason why I'm starting off in vehicle mode is because that's the mode that Rodimus Prime is packaged in. The trailer is actually folded out and opened up, so technically he's half transformed between vehicle mode and robot mode. So I decided to just start off in vehicle mode. And yes, I am pretty impressed with how enormous Rodimus Prime is. I have 3 action figures of Rodimus Prime that transform into his Space Winnebago vehicle mode. The Kingdom figure is the 3rd one. The others are a third-party version of Rodimus Prime that hooks up with the original 2006 Classics Rodimus Prime figure. That was released by Fans Project. It's known as the Protector Armor. And then the second version I got was, of course, the Power of the Primes Rodimus Prime figure that was released back in 2018. So I apologize, even though I just mentioned those 2 Rodimus Prime figures, I won't bring them out. They're buried behind a whole bunch of other Transformers figures, so I apologize for not actually having any Rodimus Prime, or even Hot Rod action figures to do size comparisons for the video review, but yeah, all in all, I am pretty impressed with how massive Rodimus Prime is. For one size comparison in vehicle mode, here he is next to his arch-rival Galvatron, and as you can see, even with his cannon extended out in front of him, it's no competition. Rodimus Prime is the larger action figure than Galvatron is. That being said, most of Rodimus Prime's size is here in the back section of his Space Winnebago mode. Now, Rodimus Prime's vehicle mode being called a Space Winnebago didn't really catch on at first. Many Transformers collectors during the Generation 1 franchise in the 1980s when it was in full swing, some people considered Rodimus Prime's vehicle mode a Cybertronian semi-truck, since Optimus Prime had an Earth-style semi-truck for his vehicle mode. But yeah, most of Kingdom Rodimus Prime's size went into his trailer. The actual the front section of Rodimus Prime that transforms into the robot mode, it's actually the same size as a Voyager class Transformers figure. But yeah, I am pretty amazed with how Rodimus Prime turned out. One minor gripe to be had with Rodimus Prime is that the top halves of his trailer don't want to plug into place properly together. And I've done some of the transformation suggestions that other collectors have done to try and get the 2 halves of the trailer roof to plug in together without any modifications, but it's been to no avail so far. And I don't want to put too much stress on Rodimus Prime since his retail price is an $80 Transformers figure, and he's currently going on aftermarket prices right now. So I take back what I said earlier in the video. Rodimus Prime, like Jetfire and Skylynx, has been one of the more sought-after Transformers figures of the Kingdom line. So yeah, Hasbro has been nailing it with the Commander class size of Transformers figures. So for one last size comparison, unlike Rodimus Prime, who has multiple connection joints that keep his trailer attached to him fairly securely, for a size comparison with another Transformers action figure, as I accidentally almost, stop that. I almost accidentally turned the video off before it was done. But for a size comparison, here is Rodimus Prime next to Earthrise / Kingdom Optimus Prime. And unlike Rodimus Prime, it's only the trailer hitch itself that keeps Optimus Prime connected to his trailer. So yeah, bringing him up here. So as you can see, Rodimus Prime is larger than Optimus Prime. Prime. And on the Transformers Generation 1 action figures, this size difference was reversed. First, Rodimus Prime was only 2/3 the size that Optimus Prime was. So I got a distinctive feeling that Hasbro and Takara are going to surprise us by releasing a Commander class-sized action figure of Optimus Prime sometime in the near future. If not in the Legacy line, then in the line that succeeds Legacy. So I wouldn't be all too surprised if that happens. So without further delay, now that we've looked at Rodimus Prime in his vehicle mode, let's get him transformed and take a close look at him in his robot mode. Alright, and here is Rodimus Prime transformed into his robot mode. I've armored him up with his two main weapons of a sword and his laser gun, and I gotta say, Rodimus Prime is pretty impressive looking. He is leaps and bounds superior compared to the original Generation 1 Rodimus Prime action figure. The Generation 1 Rodimus Prime action figure, I believe, only had articulation and being able to move his arms up and down, but here on the Kingdom Rodimus Prime, his head is on a ball joint, but depending on how you position his head, he can't really look up or down. He can look left and right, but his chin and sometimes hits the sides of his chest. He does have universal joints in the shoulders, but because of how wide the V shield on his back is, it hinders the movement of the arms going backwards. He does have a swivel joint at the bicep, which is right above the elbow, hinge jointed elbows, and he does have wrist swivels in his hands. And one thing that Rodimus Prime has is that he actually has individually articulated fingers, and his index finger actually has an additional joint right there. So, yeah, if you wanted to, you can have Rodimus Prime. If you wanted to, you could have Rodimus Prime pointing at someone like he does to Galvatron at the end of the Generation 1 movie. So that's pretty impressive engineering right there for Hasbro and Takara to design individual articulated fingers for Rodimus Prime to have. He does have a waist swivel, but again, and it can't unfortunately turn all the way around due to his backpack hitting it right there. He does have universal jointed hips, but the legs can only go outward to the side that far. They can go forward that much. They can go backwards only that much, again, because of the backpack. He does have double hinge joints at the knees, but one of them is actually a transformation joint. Right. He does have a swivel joint at the hip, but nothing at the thigh. And the toes can go upwards and downwards because of transformation, and he does have ankle rockers. Now, one gripe that I have on my copy of Rodimus Prime is that this back panel section that forms the backside of his shin doesn't want to stay plugged in place. Hey, so that is a little bit of a letdown to see that happening, but at least it works fine on the other leg. So, one thing to note about Rodimus Prime is that the yellow shield on his back, it's all done in yellow paint. It's actually clear blue plastic, just like what's used on his windshield for his vehicle mode. I'm amazed at how much paint Rodimus Prime has. From what I can see looking at it, right here, Rodimus Prime's thighs, the upper halves of his legs, that's all orange paint. It looks, from what I can see underneath it, to be black plastic. So yeah, why they didn't just do it in orange plastic in the first place is beyond me. I guess they figured painting it over would give it a glossy, shiny look to it, but there's potential that over time all that paint could end up chipping off. So that is a little bit of a letdown. And just like Earthrise / Kingdom Optimus Prime, Kingdom Rodimus Prime, you can open up his chest to reveal the Autobot Matrix of Leadership inside. Of course, it's not wanting to cooperate on camera, but if you're very careful, you can. Oh, no wonder it wasn't cooperating. I was opening it in the wrong spot. But yeah, so there you can open up his chest, and there's the Matrix of Leadership inside. And one of the blast effects that Rodimus Prime comes with is this one, and so you can attach it to the front of the Matrix of Leadership, and Rodimus Prime lights the Autobots' darkest hour. So, getting his chest clipped back into place. For a size comparison, here is Kingdom Rodimus Prime next to Earthrise / Kingdom Optimus Prime. And as you can tell, Rodimus Prime is the size of a Voyager class Transformers figure. That's what Earthrise / Kingdom Optimus Prime is. He's a Voyager class figure as well. Even though they are the same height, I am forced to admit Rodimus Prime is a bulkier looking robot than Optimus Prime is. And again, that's why I have a nagging suspicion in my mind that we are going to get a Commander class sized action figure of Optimus Prime one day. So since I showed off that blast effect of unleashing the power of the Matrix of Leadership, the other accessory pieces that Rodimus Prime comes with in terms of the blast effects, he comes with these two triangle-shaped blast effects. These are actually meant to be exhaust fumes that you in his exhaust pipes. And I saw some Transformers collectors, when Rodimus Prime was first released, make a joke that Rodimus Prime isn't using energy-efficient Energon for him to have exhaust fumes that powerful coming out of his exhaust pipes. And then the last accessory pieces Rodimus Prime comes with are these blue ones right here. These are the same blast effects that originally came with Siege Omega Supreme back in 2019. Unlike Omega Supreme, whose blast effects were orange with charcoal gray highlights, Knight's Rodimus Primes are done in all blue. And so you can attach these to various parts to make it look like Rodimus Prime is blasting at his enemies. I'll attach one here to his laser gun, so you can have Rodimus Prime. I'm doing a small laser blast or a powerful laser blast at his Decepticon enemies. So yeah, that is pretty much Rodimus Prime in his robot mode. But of course, since it, as I said earlier in the review, it makes up a majority of Rodimus Prime's size, and it's the reason why he's being sold as a Commander class figure, we cannot forget about the back section of his Winnebago mode, which is sometimes called a trailer, and it transforms into this. So here is Rodimus Prime's battle platform. And I gotta say, this is a pretty impressive looking battle platform. So you can have Rodimus Prime standing behind it, and you can have him using the battle platform as a shield while he's blasting at Galvatron and any attacking Decepticons. So yeah, the battle platform is pretty impressive looking. It's pretty enormous. It's twice the size of Earthrise Optimus Prime's trailer, which I apologize for not bringing out. But yeah, it is really incredible. And one nice thing is that here on the bottom of the battle platform, this tray actually comes out, and there is a storage compartment for the accessory pieces that Rodimus Prime comes packaged in. Now, I did it last night. Just to see, and even though some of them you do have to stuff inside with the main battle gun inside Rodimus Prime's trailer, but if you want to, you can. And store all of Rodimus Prime's accessory pieces, including all the blast effects. It is doable. You have to use a little imagination to get them all to fit it inside, but you can get all of the accessory pieces that Rodimus Prime comes packaged with inside the battle platform when it transforms into his Winnebago alt mode. So yeah, that is really impressive looking there. So for my final thoughts, do I recommend getting Kingdom Rodimus Prime and adding him to your Transformers collection if you find him? Absolutely. Just like the other two Commander class figures, Siege Jetfire and Earthrise Skylinks, I do not regret getting Rodimus Prime and adding him to my Transformers collection. Actually, there are a few minor nitpicks to be had with Rodimus Prime, especially the one that I fixed, which is that his wheels aren't painted, but it is. But I personally do not regret doing that customization of painting his hubcap silver and giving him actual wheels and tires. Just because it does make him look more like Generation 1 Rodimus Prime. Thank you guys all so much. This has been the TFN Geek, and until next time, you guys, please like, comment, and subscribe. Ring the bell icon on for notifications. Thank you guys all so much, and until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, transform and roll out. Goodbye, everyone.